know, I know that we have some people here from various transit agencies, and I just want to again say thank you for attending today. I've had the opportunity to speak with most of you from different regions and the transit authorities that you represent, either by phone or email. So really, really great to have you all here. I think we had opportunity through phone or email to discuss with most of you, the purpose of this meeting. And really what it is about is to make sure that we are getting all of the regional transit authorities. We are working on planning and working with our consultant Momentum to kind of really come up with ways that we may be able to support you in this transition to electrifying your fleets. I know John Friedrich here, who I'll go ahead and introduce here shortly. He is going to be able to kind of answer some questions through our Q&A session that we'll do when the presentation is over. And then we have a couple presenters as well, just to talk about their experiences going through the process that you may be going through now, or looking to go through here shortly. Got one more to admit in the room. 1 second, please. Great. All right, fantastic. So what I would like to do right now is just kind of go through a quick slide presentation of Central Coast Community Energy. I think we'll have some time after this when we take questions from you regarding, going through what Build Momentum has to offer. And in terms of questions of, the information that is out there currently, and also kind of sharing your ideas. And I think I asked some of you if you're, where are you at in the process? What plans do you have, for the future to meet these, this 2029 goal? And yeah, we're here to share, we're here to listen, and we want to find ways that we can support you. So right now we're at the very beginning stages of this planning process, but very happy to have everyone in attendance. So for those of you who may not know, Central Coast Community Energy, we are the electricity provider throughout communities in 5 counties along the Central Coast. So that is Santa Cruz, San Benito, Monterey, communities within San Luis Obispo County, and then Santa Barbara County as well. We are one of 23 CCAs within the state. As you can see there, CCAs serve over 11 million customers in the state of California. We are really here to make sure that you are able to we're really here to make sure that, we want to support you, right? We want to support your electrification goals. We want to make sure that, if there's a way, whether it is, through our expertise or setting you up with the right consultant, or what information that we can provide you through the data that we have, it's important that we do so. So really to understand that, with the CCAs, we are making sure that, our communities are being served and supported on their electrification goals. Quickly, the way that we work, again, as I said, we are the ones procuring the electricity that is going to the grid. PG&E or Southern California Edison, depending where you are, is the delivery mechanism of that. And we are both, of course, benefiting you with affordable rates and clean energy. And also as a customer, both customer of CCCE and PG&E, you're able to take advantage of both programs. So again, as I stated, we are throughout the 5 counties here on the Central Coast. We have a 33-member agency. We have 2 boards that are representing these communities, our Operations and Policy Board, as well as a Community Advisory Council. But these are the communities that we serve with, partnering with them to serve their communities with clean and renewable energy. Judy and myself, we are senior commercial account managers. Judy is primarily working with those 33 member agencies. I myself work in the commercial industrial ag area. So, working very closely. I know I've spoken with some of you in the past about certain projects, so working very closely with our team here. Let's see. So talking about some of the programs, just the current program offerings and what we're doing now here at the agency. We really are focused on, the fuel switching aspect of things, right? So we want to make sure that we are supporting the ag community. We have a program, Ag Electrification, where they're able to use funds available through this program to purchase new ag equipment. For example, it could be, switching from a diesel water pump to all electric, or it could be the purchase of a electric ATV, UTV, electric tractors as well, right? So there's a lot of options there. Electrify Your Ride, that is something that we are going to, big program for us. Really here to make sure that, this is something that the community understands, right? This is out there. This helps with charging stations. This helps with the purchase of all electric vehicles. Also, we have an electric bus program. The electric bus program right now is for school buses and for farm workers. So we're focused in those areas, making sure that that electric transportation is available. And then also we work closely with our member agencies, and we are helping them, electrify their fleet and making sure that, the charging units there, they're adequate. They have what they need. So that's a big effort that part of the programs team and Judy have been working on. And then we have some construction. We have new construction electrification. That is for new building, all electric, affordable housing. So that is an area that, we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community that affordable housing, all electric is a need. So we have program money devoted to that. A Reach Code program that we work with our member agencies on. And then, of course, the Electrify Your Home program. That is a program that allows people to purchase things like switching from a furnace to HVAC system, right? Or getting away from using those gas appliances, not so much kitchen appliances, but those things that you're going to have within your home to heat and cool. So there's money devoted to that program as well. So I will move from there, and I just want to go ahead and introduce John Friedrich. John is a strategist with Momentum. He has an extensive background in the charging and EV infrastructure. Also, he is a city council member with the city of South Lake Tahoe. So, John, happy to pass it on to you.
Thanks, Gabe. So good morning, everybody. And in a minute, I'm going to ask folks to say a quick introduction so our presenters this morning know the audience and some of the interests you may have. But again, Momentum is a firm of scientists and engineers, policy and fundraising experts based in Sacramento. We design, develop, and deploy renewable energy and clean transportation projects for a host of clients, from seaports and airports to municipalities, drayage, trucking, and food distribution companies, and CCAs. We've developed more than $5.5 billion in projects since 2005. And we're real excited to be working with Central Coast Community Energy on the Central Coast Medium and Heavy Duty ZEV Blueprint, funded by the California Energy Commission. The overarching goal of the blueprint is to develop a comprehensive and replicable strategic vision to accelerate deployment of medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicles and charging infrastructure in California's Central Coast region. Initial targets for zero emission vehicle investment and programs are transit buses, school buses, municipal fleets, private fleets, and public charging infrastructure. And I think it's fair to say that we're really in all these sectors at the beginning stages of the transition of medium and heavy duty vehicles throughout the Central Coast, but as well as throughout California, which is ahead of the rest of the country and in turn ahead of most of the rest of the world in this space. I would say that on the other hand, you do have some very early adopters in the region, such as Santa Barbara MTD, which got its first electric buses in 1991, which is pretty remarkable. And I always want to mention again, reiterating some of what Gabe said, that CCCE is supporting member and public agencies with incentives to electrify medium and heavy duty vehicles, from street sweepers to refuse trucks to school buses, and of course, significantly for today, transit buses. So we're at the very beginning stage, but change is coming quickly in these sectors. As Gabe referenced, by 2029, California is requiring all transit agencies to purchase only zero emission buses by 2029, with another 11 years to phase out the legacy diesel bus fleet. So by 2040, 100% of transit buses will be zero emission vehicles. So change is coming quickly. The good news is that there's an abundance of support out there, state, federal, local resources, including from folks like CCCE, and the technology is advancing rapidly to help make this change. So this blueprint, again, is really about helping operators of medium and heavy duty fleets, specifically today, transit fleets, make this transition to comply with regulations, but more so to take advantage of funding and other opportunities available now, so that so to help early adopters lead the way, provide examples of how it's done, and also, to do so in a way that's beneficial for the agency for taking those early moves. So today, and before I introduce the presenters, and we'll have one presenter from Santa Barbara County Association of Governments talking about their Clean Air Express regional electric bus, and two presenters from Wave Wireless talking about projects with the Antelope Valley Transit Authority. I want to just invite everyone here just to quickly, say your name and your organization, and you could just say if you're involved in the electric transit fleet planning, but just keep it real short, and then we'll turn it over to the presenters, and then we have time set aside at the end for a more discussion, and we really welcome participation in that segment. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and if you just want to take themselves off mute and say hello real quick, show us your face if you'd like.
Yeah, I can go. Chuck Farmer, Santa Cruz Metro. And yes, we are converting over to hydrogen and electric.
Thanks, Chuck.
I can go next. Jerry Estrada, General Manager, Santa Barbara MTD Transit District for the South Coast, City of Goleta, Carpinteria, as well as Santa Barbara. We, yes, as you mentioned, been operating zero emission vehicles since 1991.
I just want to say again, that's really remarkable. So congrats.
Good morning, everyone. Veronica Lezama, Transportation Planning Manager for the Council of San Benito County Governments, and we're the agency that funds the public transit in San Benito County. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Regina Valentine.
Great, thank you, Veronica. Regina Valentine, I'm the transportation planner who oversees the public transit for San Benito County.
Good morning. Who else? I know there's some other folks here.
Hey, John, this is Jeff Straw. I'm the Executive Director of the San Luis Obispo Regional Transit Authority. We just built a new facility here in San Luis Obispo. That's our primary operations and maintenance facility. It's all electric, including chargers for 4 buses. We don't have any electric buses yet. We have 2 on order, should go online with Gillig. They're full-size buses, and we have funding for 5 more. So we're initially looking at battery electric bus, but we're going to have to look at some other longer range ones because of the problems with limited range of an electric bus.
Right. Good to hear. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
Hello, this is Gamaliel Anguiano, City of Santa Maria Regional Transit. We just received our first 2 electric buses, put them into order. We have 16 more on order, and really excited to deploy them.
Great. Welcome.
I'm going to tag Aaron, so he's a little shy.
Thanks, G. Aaron Bonfilio with SBCAG, Director of Rail and Transit Programs, and I'll be talking in a few minutes about our one current electric bus.
All right. Anybody else or? Folks, our friends here at CCCE want to introduce themselves or?
I'll say hello. Hello, everyone. Judy Young, Senior Customer Accounts Manager, along with Gabe. And I thank you all for coming today and joining this discussion.
And hi, everybody. This is Dan Bertoldi. I'm Manager of Energy Programs here at Central Coast Community Energy. We are actually all in the same room together, John Friedrich. We also have today with us John Greaser, who's our Director of Energy Programs. So we're all here in our Monterey office and really happy to hear from you all today and thank you all for coming.
I can go next. Hello, everyone. Oswaldo Martinez, work closely with John and Dan and the programs team.
Hi, everyone. I can't tell if my audio, mic, video, all of it. Okay, I can't see myself or anything, but my name is Jenna Espinoza. I have the same virus that Gabe has, apparently. I am the manager of customer accounts and services, so I help guide Judy and Gabe in serving you all. And I'm located in the San Luis Obispo office.
Well, okay. All right, so we're gonna move ahead, I think, at this point. So I just want to introduce the speakers we have this morning. Again, Aaron just introduced himself as the Director of Rail and Transit for Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. What Aaron didn't say is he has extensive experience in California in the transit field, and we look forward to hearing his early experiences so far with the Clean Air Express. And we also have today two speakers from Wave Wireless that will be talking about a project that is not within a CCCE service territory, but is an interesting case study about a wireless charging technology that I think you'll find informative and perhaps useful in your own planning. One is Mark Perry. He's the Director of Field Services and Customer Success with Wave. Mark was the Director of Operation and Maintenance at Antelope Valley Transit Authority and was the project lead for the authority's bus fleet conversion from a full diesel fleet to the country's current largest electric bus fleet and the largest deployment of inductive or wireless charging infrastructure. David Greenfader is the head of strategic business development and partnerships at Wave Wireless. He's responsible for establishing and developing strategic partnerships with other technology companies. Mr. Greenfader excels in entrepreneurial and early to mid-stage companies where he can employ his creativity, networking, communication, and leadership to open up new markets for cutting-edge disruptive technologies such as wireless. So with that, we'll move on to our presentations, and following these, which 10 or so minutes each, starting here with Aaron and the Clean Air Express, we will open it up for conversations and dialogue and questions. So take it away, Aaron.
Oh, gotta take myself off mute. All right. Well, thanks, John, and thanks everybody for the time. I actually probably have the least amount of experience relative to the group on the call today, for what it's worth. So forgive me if I'm stating the obvious here. And as many of you know, I inherited a bit of these projects from my predecessor, Scott Spalding, whom many of you worked with in the past. In the case of SBCAG, we were awarded or received state rail assistance funding for a demonstration bus purchase, which is what we've got now and operate with the Clean Air Express. We purchased a BYD C10 motor coach, I believe one of the first in the nation to be delivered, however, and probably operated, but over the past few months have had a series of challenges putting it into service. In particular, really the turnover killed us. When Scott left, the bus was near finished in production and sent for acceptance testing during his leave or during the period between his departure and my start. And so SBCAG accepted the bus, although our inspectors were on staff or working for us, missed a handful of things, and we had to send the bus back to BYD. Nothing related to the powertrain or the fact that it's a battery electric, but just the typical pre-delivery stuff, like with the lift, small things here and there. But it's been time consuming because BYD is busy, and I guess for a period had actually shrunk their staff during the pandemic. So that bus has been going back and forth to Lancaster safely with, state of charge over 60% each time when it gets back to Goleta, which is well exceeds our expectations. But when we do put it into service, we notice that it's, it's a nice clean ride. Everybody enjoys it. And we probably use close to 40% of our stated charge to go what would effectively be half the stated range. So I think because of the grades and because of our duty cycle, we're not seeing the draw on the battery the way we might if we were going uphill both ways. But we benefit in that one direction of our travel is all downhill, so to speak. That said, we've also purchased 5 more that are in production right now and due to be delivered to SBCAG in Ventura County as part of a partnership with their Coastal Express route using state grant funds. Those 5 buses are expected April 1st or thereabouts. And we have implant inspections going on now. So far, so good, and everything's moving along. And we're working on the installation of chargers in the near future. Like many of you, we're engaged with, in at least in our area, the Southern California Edison Charge Ready Transport Program. I think there's a comparable program for PG&E, where they're doing all the work on the utility side and a little bit on the customer side. And we simply bring in the chargers post-construction. It's been pretty seamless so far, and we're hoping that everything keeps moving that way for spring of 2023. What I will say really hit us, and I mentioned it a bit, during the turnover, we had our driver and maintenance training take place. Unfortunately, there was no real owner at SBCAG to keep pushing on that training and make sure that our staff was well trained. We're a contract operated service, and as you can imagine, there's a bit of a wall between us and our contractor. But at bottom line is that we had a lot of diesel mechanics and drivers who've been using the same rolling stock for the longest time. And unfortunately, when the bus sat and did not get utilized on a regular enough basis, we had turnover in drivers, turnover in mechanics, and then had to go back to square one and do training all over again. So I really just want to emphasize, to highlight and keep pushing on the training early on and maintain a level of communication. And as much as you can, if you're a contract agency, create a champion within the contractor staff for zero emission technology, because that was in part what happened is we lost some key people who, when they left, everybody went back to doing things the way they've been doing them for the past 20 years. Also, just maintain strong communication with your utility. Keep pushing them. SC is a busy group, and they will divert to other projects and come back and help you when you're aggressive and need their attention. So I've benefited, frankly, from working alongside Jerry Estrada and his team and the folks in this region, because I think, together we're a strong voice. One by one, we may not get the attention we need, but when we bring our collective power to the table, I think it's very helpful. John, that's about all I've got. Be happy to hand it back over.
Good. Thank you, Aaron. Well, that's we appreciate you sharing those lessons learned today, and I think everyone on this webinar can probably agree that there is always a lot of twists and turns and challenges along the way. I'm kind of learning together as we go through this transformation. So look forward to your participation in the Q&A afterwards. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Mark and David to share about their project.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Perry. I was the director of operations and maintenance at Antelope Valley Transit. I was in charge of the entire project to convert at the time, 47 diesel bus fleet to electric. Did a lot of planning, tried to look 10 years in advance, which I suggest everybody does when they enter this project. So I'm going to breeze through a couple of these slides, but there's a couple here that I want to really focus on because I think they'll help a lot of you. So AVTA had a goal in the very beginning to be the nation's first full electric fleet. The solutions we early on had scribed out that we would need, a good charging infrastructure. Our goals needed us to go about 400 miles, about 18 hours service days. So that's how we started. We didn't have a lot to lean on. Next slide, please. So the pilot test that the board granted us, was supposed to be 12 months. 2 months of data that I reported to the board, they made the decision to go full electric. This was the original plan for the pilot, and it immediately got nixed and became a full-on project. But again, the planning piece of this is extremely important as you move forward, because you're going to miss things and you'll just keep adding to your plan as you go. Next slide. So for AVTA, when we did finally make the decision after we ran 2 buses for a couple of months, and we made the decision to go full electric, we had to get a lot of people involved. This is actually one of my lessons learned. I did not get most of these people involved in the very beginning, but it was apparent to us early on that we needed to get a larger group of folks within our agency together to make this achievable. The energy provider, you got to talk to them early, because like Aaron said, you got to get them involved. There's a lot of planning on their end, and they will go on to other projects if you don't stay aggressive with this. Our planning department at AVTA had to be involved because we had to know where to put these chargers. Now there are simulation programs. WAVE actually has a very nice simulation program that would help you, but we did this all on pencil and paper. We hired an engineering firm early, and we put and really we felt like it was a crazy plan that we put on paper. The finance department had to come up with a lot of money. AVTA's project started out at $100 million, and I believe they're at about 120 now, with the advances that they've made since I've left. The maintenance department, like Aaron alluded to, you got to keep the maintenance team up to par. They become electric bus technicians instead of diesel mechanics, and getting them the proper training and keeping them involved was very key to the success of running these electric buses. And then the operations team, AVTA has contracted operations and maintenance. So the operators, they had to have buy-in, and they had TransDev at the time, and we had to make sure that they understood what our goals were, and we had to make sure that they were on our team, and that they wanted to achieve this as much as we did. And then training. Everybody needs training. Everybody in your department, if you have contracted departments, they need to be trained as well. And there's a broad aspect of training that has to happen. It's not just how to work on these buses. It's not how to work on the chargers. It's how to operate them. But getting the right funding and finding the right funding for these adventures. So next slide, please. So the charging infrastructure appeared early on to us that it was going to be the most important for the success of this. When we originally built this, I built an 89 stall depot charging, a conductive solution for the yard. AVTA has a very large yard, so there was plenty of room to install all these chargers. Later on, it becomes apparent to me that this was an overbuild, because we learned with the data and everything we learned, and I'll cover that in a moment. We had the two 50 kilowatt inductive chargers that we started with, And then we moved forward with Wave, and we installed 12 inductive chargers out in the transfer centers at 4 locations. There's 2 that we installed at a local college for the college routes that they have. And then we installed 1 Wave inductive charger in the yard for some fast charging and for testing to make sure that on the PMs, they actually test the charger and make sure that it works properly and they can receive a full charge. Next slide, please. So when we were evaluating the infrastructure and especially the opportunity side of it, we looked at a lot of different ways to charge our buses throughout the course of the day. Because remember, you're taking a 150-mile bus and you're trying to go anywhere from 300 to 500 miles a day with these things. So we looked at overhead pantograph. There were a lot of reasons why we didn't go with this. One of them was a lot of moving parts. We saw that there was a high amount of maintenance. And the ADA aspect of this large charger sitting next to the bus, it just, our community and our community folks really were not in favor of this. So we looked at, next, please. We also looked at plug-in. We looked at plug-in for everywhere, even at the transfer centers, along to complement the depot charging. But it was labor intensive. The cables, moving the cables around, it takes time, and it's a trip hazard. Again, you have ADA issues as well, and then there's vandalism. And for AVTA, it was a $5.5 million venture just for the depot. So putting those chargers out in the field was going to cost a lot of money as well. And like I mentioned, vandalism. So next one, please. So we met the Wave folks, and we could not find a negative reason behind looking at this inductive charging. It was hands-free. There was a lot of power all at once. It was embedded in the roadway. There was no ADA issues, and it transferred energy from underneath the bus. So there was the hazards to the operator were just not there, and the operator didn't have to do anything any different than they normally do. This thing can charge through ice, snow, mud, gravel, rain. It didn't care. It just worked all the time. And like I said, the operator, all they had to do, and it's policy, AVTA's policy for them when they pull into a transfer center or any stop, to set the brake, put it in neutral, and kneel the bus. So that's how we design the system to function for AVTA. Next slide, please. So the opportunity charging at AVTA now consists of like I said before, 50 kilowatt chargers. They can charge a K9 bus. It's programmed for 10 minutes, and you get about 4 miles of range. That's the simpleness to the data. 250 kilowatt chargers with the K9s, and a 10-minute charge, we were gaining 15 to 18 miles of range. And then with K11, the 60-foot buses, in 10 minutes, we were getting 12 to 16 miles of range. This was exactly what we needed to be able to run our system all day long. Next slide, please. So this is how it works. Bus pulls up onto the charging pad, operator sets the brake, puts it in neutral, kneels the bus. The 2 pads are communicating with each other while that's happening. Once they talk to each other and they decide that they can charge, and we meet all the criteria, they instantly start charging. That process just takes seconds. Once the charge is complete, it automatically shuts off. The operator has the opportunity to restart the charge if they have enough time. But if they don't, even if they're short of their 10 minutes, all they have to do is take one of those 3 functions away, either put it back in gear, release the parking brake, or unkneel the bus, and then drive away. If you could click it again. And they just drive away. Everything stops automatically. There's nothing for the operator to do. And again, in about a 10-minute charge, you get about 42 kilowatts of transfer, which equates to about 15 to 18 miles of range. I will tell you at this point, we just tested one of the chargers at AVTA. From grid to battery, the system is about 94% efficient. And the plug-in chargers at AVTA are not even close to that. Next slide, please. This is a rough sketch of what I went to the engineering firm with, of how I wanted to place the chargers. You can see the little squares at the back of each one of the sawtooths. I was scared. I wanted to put plug-in chargers in. I did install one, but I never did install the others. Next slide, please. So when I first started, you can click it again, please. When I first started this project, BYD won our RFP. The bus had a range of 155 miles. They were about 780,000 apiece, and they weighed over 32,000 pounds with a 324 kilowatt battery pack. But again, I was a diesel guy. I came from working in front of a toolbox. So you click the next one. If I could have bought this bus at the time, and I know a lot of OEMs are offering this range extension and this size battery pack, I would have bought it. Not knowing what I know now, I would have bought this bus, but it would have cost me more money, and it would have added about just under 2,500 pounds of weight to the bus, which again reflects your maintenance, reflects wear and tear on your bus, and it's going to affect the longevity of your bus. Next slide, please. Knowing what I know now with the wave extent range, I could have reduced the size of the battery packs, lightened the load on the bus, and I could have bought a lesser expensive bus. The difference in cost in the battery packs would have been about $70,000 per bus, and I would have lightened my bus up over 3,000 pounds. So it's definitely a benefit with the inductive, and one of the many benefits of the inductive charging. Next slide, please. So when I looked at the charging infrastructure and we started designing this and figuring out what we needed to do, I did not know the WAVE folks at this point. In order to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, looking 10 years in advance, I knew I was going to be operating about 65 local transit buses. And if I went with all plug-in charging, I was going to have to switch them out throughout the course of the day, because again, they can only go 150 miles. I was going to need 102 buses. And the cost over 12 years was going to be about $121.5 million with my charging infrastructure and the buses. Next slide, please. When I met the WAVE folks, we started looking at planning the inductive charging out in the field. We realized that we could swap one bus for one bus, and I could still accomplish everything I needed to do in the same day, in one day, that was comparable to what my diesel fleet was doing. But I was going to have to do opportunity charging throughout the course of the day. Next slide, please. What I learned was, again, I could reduce the battery pack and keep my state of charge still at that high state of charge level. We have studies that we can come out and show you why you want to keep your SOCs at a higher state of charge. And the inductive charging really did help us accomplish that. ABTA has buses that are coming back in at over 80% state of charge on a daily basis. And we're actually getting ready to add some chargers for them so they can get the whole fleet up at that level. And there are health benefits to your battery system and tons of benefits for you. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, there we go. So here's ABTA's route system. I wanted to look at a bus. I did a webinar a few months ago, back in July. So I wanted to look at how they were doing, because I had been gone for about a year. So I started looking at the data. I have access to the data of their buses. So this is a small amount of data that I looked at. And the particular bus that I chose that day was 40874, which is a 2008 40-foot BYD bus. It traveled, it's a 324 kilowatt battery bus, and it's capable of 155 miles. It worked 17 hours that day, and it traveled 223 miles. It had 8 charge events, and the operator performed relatively well, 2.04 kilowatts per mile. And the range extension from WAVE was 124 miles. If you do the math, it doesn't add up. The rest of it, the range extension was through regeneration. Next slide, please. There you go. This is the slide that gets me excited. So if you look at this graph, you can see that the bus left the yard at about 97% state of charge that morning. And it appears that it skipped, it must have ran 2 loops before it charged the first time. The green square box with number 1 in it is the first charging event for the day. And it charged back up to 90% SOC, which is our limit in a BYD bus. And then it appears that it skipped another charge, and it charged the second time. It started at just over 70% state of charge, and it went up just over 80. And then the operator started charging every loop. The cool part about this is you can see the state of charge is going up throughout the course of the day. That's about as close to perpetual operation as you can get right there. After its charge event number 7, the operator ended its route, went back to the depot at 80% state of charge. They immediately handed that bus off to another operator that went back out on a different route. They went out, charged at the depot for, and it looks, if I remember correctly, that was about 12 minutes. So they must have restarted the charge. But the cool part is that operator didn't have to charge the rest of the day. And I don't know why they didn't charge the rest of the day, but that operator went out for a complete other shift and ended their day at 42% SOC. Next slide, please. So now I got to do a little bit of sales pitch for Wave. We offer the 250 kilowatt charger that I've been talking to you about this whole time. We also can take that same 250 kilowatt charger. We can split the bus bar in two, and we can install 2 125 kilowatt pads and charge them both at the same time. We also have the capability of installing 4 pads on a single power supply and charge sequentially. So we charge 2 pads at a time. When one gets fully charged, it switches over automatically. What you're looking at right now is the footprint for a project we're doing in Eugene, Oregon, at Josephine County Transit. They're going to use this system right here as a depot charging. Next slide, please. So where are we at with high power wireless today? It is the fastest and safest, most convenient way to charge your medium and heavy duty electric vehicles. And in the transit world, it works excellent for us. Next, please. We can lower your charging infrastructure total cost of ownership through reduced fleet costs, reduced labor costs, and reduced maintenance costs. Next, please. And then we can solve your mass transit electrification challenges at scale. You just install these things throughout your route system, and we can keep you all the way up at charged all day long. Next, please. I'm almost done. So summary, we can lower your operations and maintenance costs. We can eliminate above ground construction and maintenance concerns in the bus area. Our equipment can be put away from, the above ground equipment can be put away from the charging pad, so it's away from all your passengers, and it's all out of the way. And we can eliminate the whole concept of range anxiety. That's that crazy feeling you're feeling when you get in one of these buses and you try to drive it somewhere and you're constantly staring at the state of charge meter. Something one of my bosses said, my executive director at the time, some of you may know Len Engel, he said this once and it struck me and it stuck with me ever since. The potential for your electric fleet depends on the potential of your charging system. When you remove the limitations of infrastructure, the locations, and the labor, your vehicles can travel further. It really is that simple. Next slide, please. So in summary, range anxiety is real. The average year-round range of your buses is going to be about 150 miles, no matter what you do, really. With inductive charging, your range is endless if you plan it correctly. Operator driving techniques dictate the ranges. Data and planning are keys to your success. Your team needs to be 100% committed to succeed, and I do mean your entire team. Well, that was one of my failures at AVTA that we quickly corrected. And we can reduce your battery pack size using inductive charging, saving you more capital funds. Opportunity charging will shaves your peak demand. And if any of you have had to deal with peak demand charges, it's not a linear formula. It's very progressive. I don't even understand the formula, and I tried like heck to understand it. But I know AVTA, we had a bill once that was $100,000 just in peak demand, a lot less than with the energy that we consume. And then don't forget to consider your battery degradation in your vehicle when you're planning your system. I could talk more about this. We can go to the next slide.
Mark, I think we're going to need to kind of wrap it
Yeah.
up at this point. We want to make sure that we have time to speak to all the rest of the people who are attending the meeting, but I very much appreciate it. And we want to just jump into any questions, kind of Q&A. Really want to open up the floor. I know we have just 13 minutes left to do so. I want to respect everybody's time. So any of the attendees would like to ask any questions of the group, now is the time.
Hey Gabe, this is Aaron at SBCAG. I'd like to ask Mark, you know, being at AVTA before and after in your process, what did you have to do to the fleet to convert it or prepare it for the inductive charging? And was that part of your scope when you went out to buy the first set of buses?
I included pre-wiring for the wave inductive charging in my scope when I went out for the buses. They can be retrofitted. We did retrofit the first few. And basically, the bus manufacturer will run the high voltage cables to a high voltage distribution box for us to plug into. And then from there, we pretty much parallel what your plug-in charger would do. And then there's some mounting bracketry underneath the bus for the charging pad.
Yeah, Aaron, I'll just add a little bit more to that. We have done retrofits in field, but we're focused on tier one, what we call tier one integrations with the OEMs. So the actual vehicle comes off the factory floor with the integrated solution already on it under their warranty as well. So that's what we have currently with BYD, and we're working with some other OEMs as well in that process.
I see that Gamaliel has his hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Mark, do you know if all the OEMs will accept the wave inductive charging? Gillig, Proterra, New Flyer, etc.
Everybody can accept it. The only two that are OEMs are dragging their feet, but they're waiting for, there's a standard coming out. I don't remember the number of the standard, and it's supposed to be, we're told it's going to come out this month. It's been being worked on for a couple of years, but once the standard comes out, New Flyer has expressed to us that they're in, and they know this is a good solution for range. And I believe Proterra is waiting for the same thing. We've had discussions with both OEs, but everybody else we've already integrated with BYD. We've integrated with Gillig. We're working on the integration with Eldorado and Novabus right now.
Other questions? It's just one thing I thought was there are a lot of interesting things about both the presentations, and Mark, the lesson that you could meet your routes with a lower battery, smaller battery capacity. I think we tend to think I'm going to get the vehicle that has the most or the highest most range possible, which has you have to pay more for it, as you said. It weighs more, it costs more, takes more rare earth minerals for that matter, right? So
yep. I was that guy.
Yeah.
Yep, I was that guy. Not anymore.
You're curious to hear from others too about how you're thinking about solving your your duty route, your route cycle issues, your getting the mileage you need and working in the charging you need to meet those routes, kind of the questions and challenges you're having solving that puzzle.
I can share a little bit. Santa Barbara, what we did a power modeling study. We had Stantec take a look at all of our routes after we did a facilities master plan, which recommended recommissioning a site out in Goleta. So it's pertinent to this group. The power modeling study, no surprise, we've been running battery electric in Santa Barbara. We're kind of tailor made for it. Nearly about 98% of our trips could be handled with battery technology, essentially. So we're able to focus on that rather than have to have a different types of solutions as some of our peers do in the industry. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Jerry and others, how are you finding the operation costs compared to your previous diesel fleets or your existing diesel fleets when you're considering maintenance, fuel costs, and other variables?
Well, that's always a tough discussion I've had with my board members many times, because when you're a first adopter and you're dealing with technology you have challenges, and there's so much of the equipment still under warranty. It's tough to put a figure. People want to hear, a certain answer, but the reality is it's tough to nail down early on in those first few years, especially when you're dealing with new technology. And the industry went through that with CNG as well. I mean, this isn't, we got through that. We'll get through this as well. I'm positive about these things. But it does, we've seen an improvement. I'd say we have BYD 14 buses currently. We've been running for a number of years, and we've seen improvement over the years. We had similar challenges that Aaron described earlier with the buses when they first arrived, but we've worked through most of that, and we have 9 more new Flyer 40-footers on order that should arrive early next year. So,
yeah, and if I can add to that, at AVTA, we were spending $2.8 million a year on diesel fuel. They're turning a profit after the LCFS credits right now on their energy. So it's completely flipped, and they actually make money once they sell the credits.
I see that Jeff had his hand raised as well for a question.
Thank you.
Now, I just had my hand raised regarding the credits, and so I'm glad to hear that. It'd be great to hear what Jerry's been able to do with that too. He's been operating for so much longer. Any input you can provide, Jerry?
Yeah, we've been banking our credits at this point. We haven't sold any. We've been doing that for quite a while. Based on the numbers we've seen, the market, and what we think the return would be right now, I couldn't make a statement like that it would come anywhere near offsetting the cost, frankly. That's news to me. I'd love to see that happen, but yeah, we're banking the credits at this point, Jeff. We'll see what the market looks like in the near future.
John, if I may, one other elements subject that wasn't brought up in the presentation, I kind of wanted just to throw out so everybody can think about is one of the benefits we weren't expecting from AVTA's opportunity charge sites was an increase in resiliency capability for the transit agency. So opportunity charging beyond the main purpose of extending the range of those BYDs, almost doubling or more the range. It is spreading out the load of the energy to the depot and providing a natural resiliency and spreading that load across multiple circuits as well. I think Mark could share a story of some power outage that happened at one of their sites and how they actually were able to respond. I think it's also a good story to share with the group.
Yeah, they had a power failure and the backup generator didn't come on because somebody forgot to put the transfer switch back into automatic mode. And luckily the maintenance team was smart enough to start running buses out to the inductive chargers that were at the 4 different transfer centers, and they charged the fleet up overnight, and they were ready for service by morning. So it was a kind of a cool story.
Other folks, Aaron brought up the challenge of getting buy-in from maybe perhaps the drivers and maintenance personnel. Mark, you talked about your training program and technicians becoming e-technicians. Wonder if other folks have experiences to share on this front. It seems like a critical issue, both on the maintenance and the buy-in. Other examples of how you've done that well, or the challenges you're having?
I guess I'll just share a little bit. The biggest challenge I think we've seen with zero emission buses is the fact it is more of a software package you're dealing with, and you're dealing with proprietary software, and the bus manufacturers are very reluctant to share their diagnostic equipment for that. It's gotten a little bit better, but we're probably been, as again, early adopters, a little bit more dependent on the bus manufacturers than we're comfortable with. And it's something the industry is working on, through the California Transit Administration Association and others, to really push to open some of these things up. So that's one of the challenges, I think, when you're dealing with these vehicles at first, especially for your maintenance team. They like to be able to get in, fix it, and get the vehicle out on the road. And sometimes they're a little bit more dependent on the manufacturers than they're accustomed to.
Thanks, Jerry. Other, I don't know, anybody else wants to share any of the kind of the top challenges you're facing? I know we, in the presentations, talked about engineering, energy, working with the utility, and that sometimes, you know, that timeline or supply chain issues for hardware, or just paying for it all if there's not enough money in the municipal or county capital budgets. Are you looking at finance strategies? Just curious kind of what's top of mind as you're thinking about a larger transition of your fleets.
Hey, John, I'll share that, you know, our issue is we're looking at every dollar we can find. We were able to get some VW mitigation funds for our first 2 buses, as well as HVIP and some 5307 and 5339 money. So it's a huge conglomeration. Our second set of buses, we got 11 total for a joint project between Slow Transit, the local provider, and Slow, and ourselves, the regional provider. And we're getting 5, they're getting 6. We got an $8.8 million 5339 Low-No grant. We're hoping these grants continue. It's something that we're concerned about. As you know, I'll tell you, we are going to kick and scream and keep operating the diesels as long as we can because of the range issue. And, you know, we have 7 jurisdictions plus the county. So putting opportunity charging in the 4 sites that we're talking about, one of them across the county line, is going to be a real challenge from a planning and implementation process. So we know that the Route 9 going over the Cuesta Grade, which is up to 10%, and it's 1,800 feet of elevation, is going to be a real bear. And even we've had demonstrators out here that were, you know, hydrogen ones that couldn't pull it as fast as the diesel does. Again, it's probably a programming issue, but it is still a challenge for us that that route is probably going to be the last one to be electrified or zero emission. But, you know, we can't deny that diesel has a ton of BTUs in a gallon of fuel, and getting that same sort of power from a battery or from hydrogen or from, you know, whatever we want to talk about is going to be a real challenge for us. We want to be as green as we can. We built our facility with no gas or no fuel. So we want to do this, but we have some those of us that operate real long routes are going to have a challenge here. I love the idea of inductive charging. We didn't do it in our site here. We built it so we have, you know, it's designed to have conductive charging for each one of the buses. But we're going to have to do inductive at some point. And, you know, it's great to hear Wave talking about this, but Wave isn't an OEM for Gillig yet. So we are buying the biggest battery pack we can get, and we're going to use it as a test to see what kind of range we get out of.
We actually are already on Gillig buses. They have them at CCC.
Oh, well, that's news. We were there 3 weeks ago, and they said that Wave hadn't been approved yet.
They're working on a new battery system and a new drive system, and they're still working with us on implementing our system on that. But they're supposed to go back to that the first of the year. Just an FYI.
Well, it's not quotable, is it? Because they said it's not quotable yet. If we're working on it, that's great. But
yeah, it should be implemented early on next year.
All right. Well, I know we're kind of at just past the top of the hour. This has been a rich conversation. I want to thank our presenters, everyone who participated. And I just to say that in this medium and heavy duty blueprint with Central Coast Community Energy, we're going to be exploring ways for CCCE to support these kind of conversations, to support your efforts to kind of do the things that are the most helpful and useful to you. So I think Gabe, I don't know if you have any final thoughts from CCECE's perspective about going forward, but we have recorded this. We're happy to share it and to look for forums like this in the future to continue to share best practices, challenges, technology opportunities like we heard today. And so Gabe, if any closing thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, I think that's, as we continue the planning process on our end, you will hear from Judy and I, just reaching out to maybe have these one-on-one discussions. Really appreciate everybody's time, and looking forward to working with you and supporting your efforts. So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Judy.
Bye.